as an illustration of the way the processes are coming to us. To the degree that you and I view the events in our lives purely through the logic of the mind, through the left and the right brain, the polarity of the mind, you and I always will live in that polarity. That's what locks us into the polarity. That's what locks us into the separation. And there's nothing wrong with that, so please not hear me say that it is wrong. It is a choice to remain locked into that polarity. And the ancients tell us that logic is very important. The logical mind is a key portion, plays a key role in our experience. And they also say that it goes even farther than that. What they say is that in addition to the logic of the mind, that it is the wisdom of the heart. The wisdom of the heart that tempers the logic of the mind. These concentric circles centering around the heart, the seven-layer liquid crystal oscillator that we call the heart. It's also interesting that in our language we have no word to describe a wisdom that comes from the heart. I have to go to another culture. Part of my heritage is Cherokee. And in the Cherokee traditions, there is a word that describes the single eye of the heart, the eye that sees no right, no wrong, no good, no bad. It simply sees an event for what it is and says, ah, this is what it is, and these are the consequences of this event. The word for that is Shante Ishta, Shante Ishta, the single eye of the heart. What you and I are asking ourselves to do in this lifetime, through the temples of our emotions, through the temples of our relationships, is to find that balance between the logical mind and the wisdom of the heart and live that balance day in and day out. That becomes the compassion that we choose to have in our lives. This beautiful image I'm showing to you now because in a very real sense, what I'll say to you is that you do not need to go to a temple anywhere on this earth to have these experiences. It's fun to do that. You may do that, and you may have some very powerful experiences. Those temples may be catalysts for memory within your body. That certainly is true, and it's not necessary. Because for me, the greatest temple and the greatest mystery school of all is this temple right here. It's the temple of your soul. It's the temple that has brought you into the room that is allowing you to view, you and I, to view this video as we're seeing it right now. And it is in this temple that you will know of yourselves in all ways, and in that knowing, find the mastery that leads you gracefully into the transition, the phase change that the ancients called the shift of the ages. That is the message, I believe, of this and other reference beings. This man lived that science. He lived the science of compassion. He anchored it among us. I was taught when I was young that the gift of this man was in his death, that he died for my sins, sins that I had not even yet committed in my life. And it made about this much sense to me. So I was asking myself to explore further. And what we now know is that this man's gift was not in his death, first of all, because he never died. If he had died, the message would have been lost. This man resurrected. And resurrection is much different than death. And it was in the resurrection and in the gift of his life, anchoring the message, walking among humans, living the message day in and day out, living compassion, that he became the living bridge. If one person saw the demonstration of his life, then it was anchored in this world and it became a memory. And that memory, that electromagnetic pulse, just like you saw in the cymatics images, that memory is the memory that he is the living bridge left for you and I. And he became that bridge. You in your lifetime, now you are being asked to become that living bridge for yourself and for those that you hold most dear in the living day in and day out of whatever your life means to you through the science of compassion, becoming a compassionate and forgiving being. And there is a science to that. It's not a random nebulous concept. There are very real parameters that define for us what compassion is all about. We've covered a tremendous amount of information in a relatively brief period of time. And I'd like to take just a moment to summarize, bring some of these concepts into perspective, into focus, and then spend the next few minutes moving from there with personal experiences, describing, making concrete some of the points that may appear to be a little bit nebulous at this time. So I'd like to step over to our board and go through briefly what we began speaking about earlier in this day. Everyone feels that something's happening in their lives. Now, for the first time, our scientists are able to digitally quantify what that something is. The Earth is, in fact, experiencing a drop in magnetics and increase in frequency, and they appear to be moving toward a point where they will culminate in what the ancients called the shift of the ages. Through the sacred circuit, you saw the images of the sacred circuit, how every cell in our body is tuned to the brain, which is trained to the heart and tuned to the earth. Our body is attempting to match these changes that the earth is going through. Our body is trying to maintain a tuning, a resonance to these changes. As earth vibrates in an increased fashion and experiences lower and lower magnetics. The only way that our bodies are able to maintain this tuning is through the allowing of our emotions. If you and I were rocks, if we were sitting out on the sidewalk as a pile of concrete, we would always be in tune with the earth, and we would not have the opportunity to feel and emote. And it is through the gift of emotion, the gift of feeling, that we are able to create interference patterns that we call fear, impeding our ability to allow this tuning process. So what is happening is you and I are barreling down this road toward the time the ancients called the shift of the ages. Our bodies are attempting to match this tuning within the earth, and the only mechanism that we have that allows that process is our ability to emote and to feel. And you don't have to know any of that. That is the context within which this whole process is unfolding. Now, the way it comes about is that you and I skillfully and masterfully in our lives have learned to create relationships, interpersonal relationships with other people. Not all romantic, although romantic relationships sometimes are the most intense and the fastest learning mechanisms that we have. Any relationship, any interpersonal action that you have with another human is a relationship that I'm referencing now. It could be a 2-minute relationship with a checkout person at a Safeway, or a 30-year relationship with a spouse who you've known and loved dearly. It can be an interpersonal relationship with a coworker, with a supervisor, with a sibling, or simply a friend. And even if you live on a mountaintop all by yourself and you never see another person, you're still having a relationship with yourself. So you are always in relationship with someone. Those relationships are your opportunity to experience emotion. Emotion is what it is that turns off and on the patterns of DNA within your body that allow you to gracefully transition through these experiences, times of tremendous change in very compressed time frames. That is why so many people now are saying, that time, they sense that time is speeding up. Well, you measure time, your cells measure time by the number of pulses per second that our planet emanates. Well, those number of pulses have gone from 7.8 to at least 8.6 cycles per second. So yes, I would expect that you will sense that time speeding up, because it is. As the days grow shorter, Earth pulsates faster. Many people now are saying that they are experiencing very intense emotions through even more intense relationships. And if that's true, I would not be surprised if it is true because of this. As we get closer and closer to this time that the ancients called the shift of the ages, we are asking ourselves with a greater and greater sense of urgency to find balance, to reconcile the patterns of our lives so that they may serve us and not hinder us in the evolutionary path along this road to the shift. Many people are saying now that they are sensing a tremendous sense of anxiety and urgency within their bodies. They are sensing on some level, they are feeling this process as it unfolds within our lives. Well, you know, as I talk to people in many parts of the world, I have the opportunity